two first magnificent stars. This one at 11 degrees, and beside each star, that's star number 285. You can go look up what it is and the information about it in the star ephemercy. Then it's going to hit the this star 408, and it doesn't come up to the IC, or it will hit the IC in Alpha Centauri, which is here. I don't remember it now at the moment. Mine's not working out well. I don't remember names of the stars. Okay, so there's my Jupiter. Just goes straight forward in my life. Okay, and as it went forward, the first, the 135-degree aspect to Uranus, my mom got pregnant with my, I have two younger brothers, and this is the youngest one, and that was a big shock, but it really changed our situation, because we were in an old place, and the baby was getting sick from the cold, and we had to move to an apartment. So we moved from my paradise on the edge of the river into an apartment. Never went back to the river again. So that was an adjustment of my understanding and my outlook, and just having to make adjustments with that. By the time it hit Saturn in 61, it was the end of it was the end of my first year in grade 10. I was in trouble with the law. I quit school. I took a job working in maintenance at a bank, and I had a big talk with my dad. This was the big thing. I had a big talk with my dad. I told him I wasn't planning to go back to school. I said I would go back to school, and I would pay for my own books and my own clothes, as long as he promised to say nothing to me about homework. As long as he just left me alone. If he left me alone, I'd go back to school. If he was going to nag me or boss me, I'm quitting. I'm gone. So we had this big meeting and talk, and it turned around. As soon as he got off my case, my marks went up to scholarship marks, they improved. Everything went up 20, 30%. So I don't like being told what to do. So I have the Saturn squaring my Pluto, squaring my Saturn and Pluto conjunct squaring my Mars, my Mercury, and my Jupiter in the natalies. But this, see, so it's there natally, but Jupiter came up and made it tighter, tighter, tighter till it came up to the exact square. And then I had a new understanding with my dad, but it was amidst a lot of negative things. I was an angry kid leaving school. Just, well, we'd moved to the city. I didn't relate. It didn't fit in. So there's a lot of trouble with authority, with gangs, with different things I had to get out of. And I was able to make that decision. By 66, it's only 30 degrees. This is 30-degree aspect to Neptune, but on mine I put in everything just to check it, just to see. And I find that as soon as it touches any planet, by the main ones are the main factors, but even the small ones are going to show up in progressions. So when Jupiter was doing the 30 degrees to Neptune, I was traveling and living in San Francisco, Ashbury, the hippie in California in 66. So that's still kind of out there outlook. Okay, so I'd include that. Then it doesn't really hit a star. It hits the star, but I don't have the date in there. That would have been 66, 86, 76. I have it in mid-70s. Might have been around the time I was building the celestial harp. It probably might have come around that one. I was really mystically inspired by that time and come back from India and things. But then it came up, and going along, I'm inspired and things like that. But in this process, I got married. It didn't work. Other planets are going on. Other things are going on, right? So, but by 84, it's coming up to square the Pluto. It was 86 was the beginning and end of marriage number 2. Boom. That was on the Pluto, there was just struggles, having different agendas, different things we wanted, and eventually it just ended. So none of my marriages ended in violence or anything like that. It was just more of the trust, the working together, the not working together, and struggles of different ideas, different understandings. But certainly with this, there was a challenge of how could you understand differently? How could you walk away from this and that? And that was my side of it. But that was the Jupiter. Her side was, I don't know if I want to take this anymore. So, yeah. So anyways, my Jupiter had been very inspired and been working with astrology. I was pumped on teaching astrology and working with astrology. And in one way, it was very open. Another way is narrow. I was totally into that. I wasn't into so much other things. So then, but out of that ended, and Jupiter went over to Mercury. Jupiter over to Mercury, it was just the beginning. I got the first tuning systems together for the celestial harp, and I did the first recordings on the celestial harp just as Jupiter was conjunct to Mercury. It was sitting there. I'd been working with strings, I spent about 5,000-6,000 worth of strings, just trying to get the right strings for the harp, trying to build it up and do it. I don't know if I have a picture of the harp handy here. Well, some of you have seen it. Yeah, I had a vision. I built this musical instrument. Let's see if I can find it. I'll take a second. Let's see. This. Photos. Okay, so let's see if we get some pictures here. Yeah, okay, here's a good picture of it. So it's just designed to play the horoscope. It linked up the zodiac to I Ching, and the whole chart. The stars in the sky were inlaid on it. The zodiac is put in there in its 8 divisions clearly, so you can see the equinoxes and the solstices and the equinoxes are in the middle of the sides, and the middle of the fixed signs are at the corners. There's the sun and the earth. The sun is in the center, and the earth is a spiral following it around. And each string is like a week of the year. And there's frets on every string, and it's made for 3 or 4 people to play at the same time. So it's a whole thing. Anyways, this was my first performances, my first recordings, not performance, first recordings. I'd been playing with it, but I hadn't been feeling good enough to record it. Finally, I met somebody who came down. I got the first half decent tuning system. I started recording, and then each year after that, I made a recording a year over the next 30 years. So, okay. Then that was a big new beginning, and it was just new ideas. So I was really opening up the more creative side of things, and I was still teaching very actively. And then it conjuncted my Mars, Jupiter conjuncted my Mars, and from the music, it evolved till I started taking drumming and learning more percussion. I got the tuning system, I was doing recording. I want to get my percussion better, I want to understand percussion. And so I was doing a lot of Tai Chi and drumming. This was during the Jupiter conjunct the Mars. And through that 2 years, I really was actively drumming 2 or 3 days a week, teaching 3 or 4 nights a week, or 4 or 5 nights a week. And but at the end of this, when it hit Uranus, I decided I'd go back to India. So this included the trip, a trip back to India to go back into the meditation rooms that I'd been in 30 years before, or 28 years before. And so my understanding adjusted. It came to breaking through and doing new things and expanding what I was doing, adding the Tai Chi a bit more. And I'd done Tai Chi for a long time, since the 70s, but really I picked it up a lot. My teacher stopped and I stopped doing it for a while, so I picked it up again and started doing more and more, and with it a lot of drumming. Different drum teachers, different drum teachings, snare drum, drum set, congas, and then African drums. And then African drums were so interesting, I stayed studying them for the next 10 years. So all of this was in that Jupiter conjunct the Mars and the Jupiter and the Uranus and Jupiter. It's 72. It's a 144-degree aspect to Uranus, but Uranus was in there. But I really see the Jupiter Mars as just very physical energy. And then when it came to it touched my ascendant, it was 75 degrees. These are small aspects, but they're still there. And I just put them in, and I did my own special drum retreat, drumming the I Ching and drumming the horoscope, and drumming and dancing the horoscope. As it was making the 72-degree aspect to the ascendant. But those were the main ones that went by. You're going through the main square. It really started in 61 when it hit Saturn. It wasn't finished till we finished with Pluto, with Mercury, Mars, till 97. So they're talking like 61, 91, 30, 36 years, 35, 36 years. Just to go through that small amount and go over every point in that one multiple squares that I have in my chart. It was good for abundant research. I have lots of harsh confrontations and stories that went on at the same time through that. When Jupiter came up and trined my moon, which is May 2019, it trined my moon, I was teaching mystical teaching of astrology and the Rosicrucians and how it fit into the 7 rays and with the I Ching at the Westside Festival, or Westside Symposium on Ageless Wisdom. It was a really nice workshop, and that's available. That's on the forum. That's on our forum. It's also on YouTube. So, yeah, I think it was astrology, the I Ching, and the 7 rays. I think that's what the subject was called. Anyways, that's my Jupiter. It goes along. In 2040, if I live that long, it's going to come up to conjunct another first magnitude star, 30 degrees to my sun. And in 2045, if I live to 99, it'll make a semi-square to my Neptune. So I'm in the last bit here. So that's my Jupiter. So you'd say it's only moved, like, what do we got? We got moved 20 degrees. And in a lifetime. But a lot of things parallel to my life. My understanding really did adjust during this time. I really have studied, I've been learning astrology, teaching astrology, I Ching, teaching I Ching, drumming astrology, drumming I Ching, learning Tai Chi, extending I Ching, trips to India, meditating. All these things are going on, all tied up to my studying, my learning, my understanding. During this time, I wasn't like just traveling to trip around, take a holiday. When I went back then, I went back, go back into the meditation and be alone and isolated and just do a deep meditation again. So that's everybody has their story. This is the beauty of the progression. Okay, I'm gonna do my Saturn as well, and then we'll do everybody's Jupiter and Saturn one after the other, almost at the same time. So Saturn moves even less. Saturn is really slowly. It's not like, whoa. Some people may get up 6 or 7 degrees, but mine goes retrograde, and I only have about a degree or two that it's in for my whole lifetime. So again, I mean, Jupiter and Saturn are the giants in the solar system. Earth's just like a little speck. But Saturn, see, we have some things start to get really clear with these other planets and their progressions, because you have your Saturn in your chart. It's a strong presence. It's in the sign. It's in the house. It's making the aspects it is. But it's only move a little bit. And that few degrees is going to move. It's going to move. It's going to either move into an aspect to make it closer, or move away from an aspect to loosen it up. Okay, so that's one of the things you look for. It's only going to move a few degrees. It's usually going to stay in the same house. It might cross a house angle, might cross an angle, depending where it starts from. But Jupiter is Saturn. I mean, Saturn is your authority. It's your father, your relationship to your dad, to getting a career, to your discipline, yourself, to the growth into maturity, to being responsible. It's how you've managed all these things. It's a relationship to your back. It's your understanding. So even while the transits are going around across 30 years, or 2 or 3 times across your lifetime, you get a cycle of transiting Saturn. In the progressions, it's staying focused in a very small area, but that area still changes a little bit. And you can still see the changes of attitudes. And those changes of attitudes in your progressions are going to spin along and affect the Saturn as it's transiting around. It's going to change your options of how Saturn works, or increase the intensity or diminish the intensity of Saturn, period. That'll increase the intensity or diminish the intensity of Saturn in your natal chart and of the Saturn transiting around.